new intro, that you're getting into the swing of things. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of the Andover viewers who've been in to see us in the Chantry studio over the last week or two. Thank you very much for your support and all your positive comments. We have had a lot of interest in local sport and a lot of comments about local sport. Now, if you're a member of a team, you have some kind of fixture going on, please get in touch, give us a call or pop into the Chantry Centre studio. The number is 0264 33 556 and tell us about it. We'd like to get out and film your team. Now, next week, you might be wondering I'm on golf course. Next week I'm going to be having a little bit of training in golf with the Hampshire Golf Club's professional, Tony Ashton. He might see behind me here on the green, putting a few balls. So that's something to look out for. Earlier this week I did one over on Dave Bullis, one better, and went out in various military vehicles, namely tanks and APCs and snowcats and all that sort of thing. So, enjoy the show.
I'm Reg Presley. Watch this space on Tang TV.
As you saw last week, you'll have seen Dave Bullis on quad bikes. Now, I decided to go one better this week. Haha, Dave, you're going to be a bit jealous of this when you see it. This might give you a clue about what I'm up to. Commander Pyne. I'm in, and I'm a personnel carrier out in the middle of a rather windy field near Collingbourne. And if we stand up, you'll be able to see what we're up to.
Magic, absolutely magic. Really enjoyed it.
Come back for another go.
I shall.
Teresa just took Steve and I on a little cruise around the field. How was it, Teresa?
Brilliant, yes, I really enjoyed it.
Doing it again?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah? Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Here we have 55 tonnes of pure chieftain tank. So this is a press day for this new organisation. They've got a few snowcats, 3 APCs, and down there they've got a chieftain tank. Now, a little later on, Eddie, one of the people here, is going to give me a little bit of a lesson in how to drive one of these things. Should be a lot of fun. And if you thought last week watching grown men shooting down aeroplanes with 12-bore shotguns was a little bit bizarre, this is even more so. So tank driving's done. Had a lunch at the Shears here in Wexford. Now I'm here with Barry, who was one of the participants this morning in the tank driving. Barry's from an organisation called SPICE in Birmingham. Tell us a little bit about SPICE and what you do, Barry.
Well, SPICE actually stands for Special Programme of Initiative, Challenge and Excitement. And what we do, we put together a programme of events for our members, doing exciting things and extraordinary things that you wouldn't normally get the chance to do. Today we've been tank driving, and everyone's had a great time. And we're always looking for different things to do on a Sunday, instead of having the usual roast and spawning asleep in front of the telly.
So Barry, tell us a couple of things that SPICE have been doing recently. What sort of things have you been up to?
Well, last weekend we went whitewater canoeing down about 6 rapids in these Canadian canoes. Great fun. A bit cold in this sort of weather. But next weekend we're going paragliding, weather permitting.
Right.
And what else are we doing? We're doing medieval combat, where you go running around with these swords and maces, knocking hell out of each other.
Right. So how many members have you got, Barry?
Well, we've been going almost 2 years now in Birmingham, and we've got just over 400 members, about 420 members now.
Right. And are there other organisations similar to yourself in this country?
Well, SPICE itself is a national organisation. We've got 8 groups around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Started up in Manchester about 13 years ago. But, it's growing all the time. There's groups opening all over the place.
Right, because there does seem to be a real expansion of unusual and interesting things to do at the weekends, and obviously you're taking full advantage of this trend.
Yeah, I think people sort of get bored with their jobs, and they want to, they earn some reasonable money, and they want to get out and do something that's a bit out of the ordinary, And
that is obviously something people will be asking themselves. The viewers will be asking themselves, how much is this going to cost me? Is it expensive, or do you find what sort of money does one have to put out to have entertaining weekends?
Well, I mean, we work through a annual subscription, £45 for a single person, and then all the events that we do, we get group discounts on. So you end up doing it a lot cheaper than you would be able to do it by going on there on your own.
I'm here with a couple of gentlemen concerned with the tank driving that we've been doing. That's why we're looking rather scruffy. Now, we've been up at Highlands Park here near Wexcombe. Now, the first person to speak to is Eddie. Now, was initially your idea, I believe, Eddie, to sort of the whole idea of this. You initiated the whole sort of tank driving, APC, snowcat sort of thing. When did you first have the idea?
Well, we thought of turning the farm into something different, having something for people to do in the area, and basically on enjoyment.
All right. So, I mean, today we've had the press day. Obviously, the public watching are going to want to do it now. I mean, I've had an awful lot of fun today. When are you going to be kicking into action with public days?
Well, we're looking towards the summer, when things dry out a little bit, and we can get all the vehicles up there, looking at more vehicles to actually get out there and ride. Hot air balloons, and hovercraft, and aeroplanes.
So this will be a sort of all-in, one price, come for the whole day, and you'll be able to take part in all this sort of activity.
That's right.
Right. Okay. So that'll be, as you say, starting, as Eddie said, starting next summer. Now I have another gentleman here, Bob. Hi, Bob. What do you do down at Highland Park?
Well, I'm chief tank driver at
Uh-huh.
the moment, and over the summer I'll be obviously educating people in how to take these machines around the course,
Right.
giving them a good day out, a lot of fun,
Right.
and at affordable prices.
Right. Okay. And is it something just for Dad, or is it for the whole family?
Well, not really. I mean, everyone's a kid at heart, and these are toys, for anyone, which, you know, you can bring the whole family out for the whole day out. You come along, there's going to be, hopefully during the summer we're going to push the go-karts for the mud rides and everything else like that. So there'll be something for everyone at the end of the day.
Great, okay, so I mean basically whole family can come, we can all have a great time, and as you say at affordable prices.
Correct.
Okay, great. So there we have it. We're going to be looking at tanks, armoured personnel carriers, snowcats, go-karts, aeroplanes, hot air balloons, etc, etc. What else could you want? We look forward to hearing from you in the summer. Now, Eddie and Bob will be back at some point over the next couple of months. Today was just a press day. The thing is going to be opening up full scale in the summer. We will come back with more information for you soon. Watch this space. Bye now. Hi, did you know that leaving your telly on standby uses a lot of electricity? Don't do it. If you close your curtains at dusk, you're going to save between £10 and £15 on each of your bills. Now these are just some of the things that Southern Electric, up here by the Guildhall, are trying to tell us about. They're worried not only about us wasting electricity, which is obviously not too good for the planet, they're also worried about the fact that we're going to have VAT on our fuel as of April the 1st. We're going to have a little chat about this with them and figure out exactly what we can do to save money when those bills start coming in with that VAT. 17.5% on your average fuel bill, it's going to be a lot of money. Let's go and see what they can do to help us. So, here I am. I've managed to get hold of Lynn Bell from Southern Electric. Now Lynn, tell us, what exactly are you on the high street for today?
Basically it's all to do with VAT. Since VAT was confirmed as coming on energy as from the 1st of April, we've had a lot of customers speaking to us about ways they can save money, and so what we've decided to do is to come actually out into the high streets and talk to people face to face and advise them on how they can save money, save energy, and obviously be more energy efficient.
Right, and is there actually anything like specific? I see that you've got a computer here and things like that. Is there anything that you can give to people to take away with them?
We have a very wide selection of literature that they can take away related to all aspects of energy efficiency. There's a video for them to watch as well, which is quite interesting, and it reiterates, I think, some of the things we're actually saying to them. And lastly, but not leastly, is the computer program, which people can go through and say about their particular lifestyles, and from that we can make a better interpretation as to how they can save money.
Right, now, unfortunately, when people see this programme, you're going to be no longer here. Is there any way that our local viewers can get the information that you've been giving out today?
Certain bits of information they can actually get from the Southern Electric shops, but we have an 0345 number that they can dial to gain some information, and there's also a free phone number to give them specific information in relation to energy efficiency in their homes and perhaps get visitors to them. So there are certain things we can do, and there's a leaflet. This leaflet, to draw attention to all the viewers of this one, it's in all their electricity bills coming out now. So they can collect it in their electricity bills. It gives all the numbers and various other tips and hints, things we're saying today to remind them about saving energy.
Lovely, thanks very much. Now, I think we're going to go over to Shirley, who's sitting there on the computer. And Shirley, what exactly are you doing on the computer?
What we're doing on the computer is that if people give us certain information, like their tariff and things like that, then we can do them an energy report for them to take away with them. So it's looking specifically at them in their home.
So you're going to be able to help me save some money?
Yes. What tariff are you on?
I haven't got the faintest idea.
I would say, are you on general? Do you have an off-peak tariff at all?
No, I'm on standard.
You're on a general tariff. Fine, we'll tap that in for you. And we'll take...
Okay, so we've now finished the interview. Shirley's been taking all my details regarding my electricity usage in the house, and we're just waiting for it to churn itself out. Here we go. And we'll see if I can or cannot save money. modern technology. Wonderful, isn't it? Well, I must say, this is a little bit of a shock to me to see how much money I'm actually spending on where I'm spending it. I have to go home and have a little think about this and see maybe I can save some money or not, the case may be. Now, have you been getting a good reaction from people today, Shirley?
They've been coming in. This morning we were really, really busy. Even before we were officially opened, you know, we were working away because they were coming on the stand, and we worked non-stop. And everybody was really pleased with the information we could give them. They're pleased to see us here in the High Street, coming out to them and not expecting them to come to us. And everybody has been really quite pleased and receptive. And although a lot of people are doing as much as they can, they're happy to know that perhaps, you know, we're there helping them and showing them they can make a little bit more, save a little bit more on their energy accounts if they want to.
And are people very worried about the VAT coming up in April?
They're not worried anymore. They seem to have accepted it. They know they've got to pay it. What they're looking at now is seeing how they can reduce their costs, so that if they reduce their costs, they reduce their VAT that they're paying, actual physical amount, and also finding out about how they can pay in advance to avoid paying the VAT in the short term.
Right, okay. Thank you very much, Shirley. Much appreciated. And as I forget your colleague's name.
Lynn Bell.
Right, as Lynn said earlier, with your next bills you should be getting information through regarding free phone numbers and low price phone numbers you can call up and get this type of information if you missed out on the Southern Electric road show today up here in the on the High Street. So there you go. Look at your bill, make some phone calls and save some money. Bye.
Hi, I'm Reg Presley and welcome to the UFO Show. This week, as promised a couple of weeks ago, we have with us Colin Andrews. Colin, welcome back to Andover, where all this began.
Thank you, Reg.
I know that you live over now in the States, but it's nice to have you back. And what I'd like to ask you first is, how did this all begin? I know that's a $1,000 question, as it were, because it dates back, you and I know, to many, many years. But where did it start for you? When did you first know that something strange was happening in and around Andover?
It started for me when I was working for Test Valley Borough Council here in Andover and travelling from my office to a meeting down the A272 from Winchester to Petersfield. And on high ground there at Chesfoot Head, I was travelling around the punch bowl on a high elevation and looking out of my passenger's seat window, simply by chance, my life changed. I mean, it was literally been that. That was back now, 1983, 11 years ago. I saw in that field, in the amphitheatre, 5 circles, like you would get on a dice, forming a cross, a quintuplet set. And I stopped my vehicle. Walked down the embankment there and had a close inspection, and as an electrical engineer myself with an engineering and scientific background, what I saw on the ground in inspecting it closely, clearly there was something extremely unusual. That was the beginning.
It wasn't the first time that somebody had seen something in that area. I think it was Joyce Bowles who started the whole ball game going back some years.
That's right, Reg. Actually, you have put your finger directly on a case which still to this day would seem to be very important with regard to the research and the investigation not only into the crop circles but into this enigma known as the UFO. I re-investigated the Joyce Bowles case just 7 months ago for the United Nations. It constituted part of the presentation in New York because there was a lady who, as we now know, was having, I'm sure I can say this on television now, it is very much public information, was having an affair, having a love affair, 2 married people, middle-aged, lots to lose. I think you had mentioned this on a previous program.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah.
And here they are travelling down that 272. They saw an orange light, a ball of light, drop out of the sky suddenly into the field at Chilcombe. This is near the strawberry box there. People will know this as they travel that road regularly during the summer months. Their vehicle, as they turned off of the major road into that lane, suddenly the vehicle engine died, the lights went out, and at the location where the vehicle suddenly came to a grinding halt with nothing working, the electrical system had failed totally. They could see through the hedgerow the glowing light. And the claim goes from this point that Joyce and Ted Pratt, this is a gentleman she was seeing, also in his 50s from Wallop, over Wallop. What they then claimed they saw was humanoid type figures about 7 feet tall, literally gliding through the hedgerow to the vehicle. And these humanoid forms had very bright, glowing red eyes. And this is the most important piece of information which came out of this eyewitness account, and that is this. They both said on BBC television the next day, and this is in the archives at Southampton, that they were teleported aboard the orange ball of light. They were told inside this sphere by the humanoid forms that this was their field. And this is what they said, and we're talking here about humanoids of some form. This was the claim, and they went on to say, remember this is 1976, October, November 1976, they went on to say that, show them, that is inside the sphere, that there were circles, large circles, some with smaller ones nearby, with single and double concentric rings around them, some of them connected by pathways. And what they were being shown was the crop circle phenomena as it evolved from the 1976 period in that same field, and this has been missed by all of the researchers, right the way through to the current day. The patterns evolved into pictograms, agroglyphs, in the field where this claim was made right back in 1976. So we have reinvestigated that, and at least 70 other eyewitness accounts around the world from people who claim to have seen the crop circles actually form. So we now have a substantial database, and there is no question that we have an important phenomenon. That began right here at Chilcombe, just down the road south of Andover.
It's amazing to think that they almost immediately went on TV knowing full well that it would be the end of two marriages.
Yeah, that was the gravity by which these people were held. It meant so much to them. They were shocked by what they had seen, and literally it interfered with two family situations, a very serious domestic situation, which they had no need to have made public. It was simply because something important happened to them. And that's only one case of a number south of this town, which is indicative of the importance we attach to the phenomena.
I wonder why it is that they, whoever they are, have chosen this area in particular to lay down what we think are messages to us. Why this area? Have you got any clue?
Well, we have clues, but we don't have answers.
Right.
We are looking now at the largest database in the world, just recently transferred from Andover to Connecticut, north of New York. And one of the major correlations in that data, looking at about 4,500 sites worldwide, is water and a carbonaceous geological structure, which is chalk, effectively. We have in this area from Wantage up in Oxfordshire, down through Winchester to the south of the town here, and out towards Warminster and Wiltshire, we have a carbonaceous geological structure, which is strata, which is chalk, retaining large volumes of billions of gallons of water, which is on the move. It's on the move because the climate is changing. The ecological and meteorological situation, it is the climatical conditions changing worldwide are causing the large volumes of water to move. But we have also many cases, and I know you are aware of this in our private discussions, that some of the other eyewitness accounts report the formation of crop circles and UFO phenomena and associated water loss. For example, in near Tokyo in Japan 3 years ago, of the 75 odd formations which appeared in Japan, the rice paddy fields there, during that particular year, they continue to occur, but during that particular year, in an environmentally controlled situation, water coming into the paddy field controlled by electrical solenoids. We had there an orange ball of light appeared from the mountains, and 25,000 tons of water disappeared from the paddy field, which was a controlled environment, that night when a crop circle appeared in that very paddy field. And I could go on. We have a cattle trough. One of your viewers now may well be the lady that I'm referring to, from the Cadbury chocolate family, who lives near to the town, who heard one afternoon, she telephoned the Test Valley Borough Council offices here in Andover, and I was dispatched because BBC Television were aware of the work that I was doing. She had just emptied her swimming pool, and she was walking back into the house there and heard what in her words were a God Almighty explosion. She looked around expecting the swimming pool, which had just been emptied of its water, to be blown apart. I mean, that was the extent of the retort, the explosion. But she looked around, she could see nothing other than 2 fields away at the rear of the property, where we had already investigated a circle with 2 rings around it, these double concentric rings, and 5 other individual circles similar to the kind that appeared at Kempton in 1987. We had there a situation where the circles were forming a straight line heading towards Winchester, and right as they approached this lady's property, a galvanized water trough, a cattle trough, which we have in the fields of the farmers' fields in this area, weighing half a ton, holding 80 gallons of water, permanently attached to a galvanized pipe, had propelled itself across the field and had hit the rear fence. Of course, that was the bang she heard. There was no rational explanation we can begin to give, and a lot of people have looked at this with me, Professor Archie Roy from Glasgow University and others, as to how that water trough could have propelled itself, literally blown itself off its foundations. We may here, you see, be looking at a link not only with the water, but what we call earth energies. This is a matrix of energy which actually encompasses the earth itself, and detectable by means of dowsing, which I think you've also covered on the program. And we are now coming back with scientists this next year to follow up with scientific equipment to try and identify what these lines are, because it was on one of those lines that that particular event occurred, and where many of the crop circles and UFO phenomena continue to occur in this area.
Flying cow troughs.
Absolutely.
That was unbelievable. you haven't told me that.
No, well, there you go. I mean,
that was incredible.
There's a great deal of it about.
Colin, what was the first thing that made you think that it was something more than just something that happened on the ground? What was the thing that made you think it was something airborne that was to do with this?
I think it was the discoveries, really, the information which came out of a report of a ring which was discovered here at Kempton in 1987. First seen by a pilot taking off or landing at Thruxton, Busty Taylor, here in Andover. Yeah. Roger Flambert, the farmer there, escorted me into the field, and an important point I think to make to all people that are interested in this, the farmers clearly have had a lot of harassment over the years, and it is important to seek permission before entering the fields, and in fact probably far better to view them from the road. If that can be done. But the ring at Kempton, I tapped many doors, spoke to many people out there, and spoke with a lot of them who had reported unusual noises, sounds, from the field where this ring had been discovered. I went out there following the initial site inspection, as it were, with Roger Flambert there, and we brought into the investigation of that particular site Professor Archie Roy from Glasgow, Dr. Meaden, the meteorologist, head of the Tornado and Storm Research Organisation in Wiltshire, Bradford-on-Avon, and others. We looked at that very closely. It was confirmed as best we were able to confirm in those early days that this was extremely unusual, and there were features there which we still have not made public, and I think at some point that will clearly have to happen. But there are features with some of these patterns which are almost, we believe them to be unhoaxable. They are extraordinary features. You reveal your total hand, and you can bet your boots that the guys after a pint of beer will go out there and try and replicate them. So that's why I make that point. But many people reported unusual sounds. One that I can remember off the top of my head, Mr. and Mrs. Hiscock, who lived there down through the back of the council houses at Kimpton, walking the dog on this particular morning, and heard what they called a Doctor Who type warbling sound coming out of the field. And to cut the story very much short, I returned after a site investigation late of a summer evening in '87. We had already measured the pattern. We'd done all the things that we usually did, plant analysis and soil samples and magnetic field, all these sort of things. And I returned alone that particular evening, and I'll never forget it. It was the first most weird experience that I had personally had as an engineer. As I say, I hope you know, and you would accept that I am very well grounded. I'm actually quite skeptical, and so at this point I'm extremely skeptical, still looking at the scientific evidence, and I was alone there. I walked out into the ring. I took a measurement which had been forgotten earlier in the day. I walked into the standing crop so that it was up to here, maybe to navel height. And it was a thought process. In my mind, I was saying, and remember, this is about 5 years after the initial research had started on these things. In my head, I said, it was like praying, I guess. God, if you could only give me a clue as to what this is all about. Now, that's what was said. It wasn't verbal. It was in my head. And immediately, and as if in response to a thought process, a sound began to emanate from a position about 8 feet from where I was stood. And this is now well documented. It's in circular evidence. It's in many of the documentaries which we've now done on this. It was very extraordinary. I, as an electrical engineer, had spent many hours in laboratories with high levels of voltage, between an anode and a cathode. And the only sound which I can equate to what I heard in that field was something of that kind. It began, it was like a warbling, hissing noise, similar to those people had told me about. But I was alone. I had no witnesses. I didn't know who would believe me. It came up to such a pitch, Reg, that I was ready to run from that field. It was so close. I expected a flat.
And late in the afternoon, I suppose.
Yeah, it was evening.
Yeah.
It was extremely loud, and I was waiting for a flash of light, a bang, some sort. It was very strange indeed, and therefore, nearly 2 years I lived with that experience, telling people, friends, colleagues here in Andover, at Test Valley, my family.
And everybody was going, ha.
Well, looking at me rather strangely. This guy is going over the top. Yes,
until
you know.
Yes, you did a program or something for the BBC. You were making, in actual fact, this video.
Well, it was actually a little before we made the video. Yeah. Some segments of what you're referring to are in this video, but the BBC footage is in the video. But we were being recorded by BBC Television Daytime Live from Pebble Mill, and my colleague, the co-author of the books, Pat Delgado, who had worked for NASA on the Mariner project, he and I were being interviewed in a very large crop circle at Beckhampton near Silbury Hill, and suddenly the red lights began to come on the television camera, all of them. This is a brand new BBC computer-controlled television camera, and the cameraman was complaining that he had fault conditions on all of his testing lights, and the sound engineer, who I was stood very close to, as Pat Delgado being stood in the circle was actually being filmed, there was this same sound, and he had it on his headphones. This I think you can see now probably. It's here for you in the studio now.
Yeah, and take a look at it now.
It was really very extraordinary. It was a buzzing sound which effectively destroyed the television camera. It was £65,000 worth, which had to be reconstructed, rebuilt at Pebble Mill in Birmingham. BBC engineers in London, and this is all confirmable, I know I'm on the air with this, had a look at this very closely, and it was put down to a complete mystery. Nobody knew what happened, but every time the television camera was moved outside of the crop circle, all conditions cleared. Inside, fault conditions existed. We have here an earth energy component probably interacting. We have an interface, which is the crop circle, with a dimensional element from outside. And it's looking convincing at this time because we have just concluded tests with Masahiro Kahata. He's an inventor, a scientist from Japan, currently in New York. I've spent some time with him in the last few weeks. And we're getting some results here in southern England, I think, which are going to give us our first major breakthroughs into understanding what's happening.
That's really amazing, Colin. Thanks very much.
Pleasure, Reg.
If you think crop formations are an enigma of just today, have we got news for you. Don't miss the next show.
Hello, welcome to the Chantry Centre studio. Today on the sofa, the Ducal sofa, I've got Chris Vincent of Shaston's Kitchens. He's come to tell us about kitchens and the things we should look out for when purchasing kitchens, that sort of thing. Now, kitchens are obviously a very, very expensive purchase. After buying your house and your car, it's going to be a very big chunk out of your budget. Now, Chris, tell me, where do I go if I want a new kitchen?
You've got 4 options. Firstly, the DIY stores. Fairly restricted range, sometimes very expensive on fitting. So do get a quote for the supply only and the fit if you're looking at the DIY stores. Secondly, the high street studios. They're probably the other end of the marketplace. Very expensive, losing market share, but they're just not competitive anymore. You've then got the direct sell operations that advertise in the Sunday supplements. They try to sell you a kitchen on the night. Very difficult for a customer to have all the thinking to get everything in the right place in a 2-hour session. Most customers actually want a day to think about it, a couple of days. It's an important purchase. Make sure you get it right. You can't. I haven't met many customers that could actually sit down, make up their mind and agree to it, and that's it. You do need a bit of time. You also need to see the product. So ask to see some of their completed jobs, because probably all they'll be showing you on the direct sale is a little sample door. It's not really enough when you're making an important purchase. Ask them if you to go and see the jobs they've done. The fourth area is the small manufacturer. They usually offer a much larger range of kitchens. I mean, some up to 200 different kitchens. Of course, they're making their own cabinets, so you can really get what you want there. You're cutting the middleman out because you're buying directly from the manufacturer. So the basics are that you're going to get better value for money.
Right. Now, you've also been in the business quite some time. I imagine you've seen some pretty horrendous cowboy botch jobs. Are there any that particularly stick in your mind?
Well, I think the main one that really comes to me that we see time and time again is a customer's has purchased their kitchen. They've found a friend of a friend or someone out of the local press who is a fitter. He comes in, ruins the whole thing, sometimes draws all the money and then disappears. The customer's paid for it and all they've got is a ruined kitchen.
And then you have to come in and pick up the pieces.
We don't like to do it, because it's very difficult. You just have to take it all out and start again.
Right. Now, what different kind of kitchens are available, Chris?
Mostly got wood and laminate. Wood kitchens fall into solid wood kitchens and veneer kitchens. A few years ago, the veneer kitchens were down market, if you like. You could actually see they didn't have the quality. But nowadays, a veneer kitchen is very difficult to tell the difference. So, value for money, veneer can be the answer. I don't think it'll ever take the place of solid wood.
Right. Okay. So you're basically your veneer can look good, but your quality. But will it last longer if it's a wooden kitchen, or is it really 6 to 1 1/2 a dozen of the other?
It's 6 to 1 1/2 a dozen of the other. And the quality of doors have improved tremendously over the last 5 or 6 years, whether it's wooden doors or laminate doors.
Okay, so really it's up to the customer's personal taste.
Oh yes. So obviously a good quality laminate door is more durable than a pine door. Pine being a soft wood, but right. I don't think that would make the difference to a customer. if they've got other pine furniture and want it to match into the house. It is all durable enough for the job.
Chris, should I obtain more than one quote?
Yeah, I think certainly. Probably 3. Find 3 potential suppliers which you can select from the local area. Have one plan done, and get all of them to quote exactly the same plan. It's pointless getting a slightly different plan with slightly different appliances quoted by 3 different companies, because it'll tell you nothing at all. And don't make the big mistake of the 1,000 base units. How much is the 1,000 base unit? I've seen so many customers ask that, and it really doesn't tell you anything. Most suppliers, in fact I would say all suppliers, know that's what customers will ask, or a large percentage will ask, and they adjust the price accordingly. To bring the price of 1,000 base down by £100 is a small price to pay to sell a kitchen. So be wary of that. They bring the price of one product down and put the price of another one up. You must compare the complete kitchen.
Right, so basically you're saying you don't get something for nothing. They will simply adjust all their prices accordingly, make it look attractive.
That's exactly what happens.
Right. Something I've often asked myself, what's the difference between a flat pack and a rigid?
Well, flat pack is usually lower quality. Rigid cabinets that are actually assembled by the manufacturer are the quality end. And one thing I think is want to be a little careful of is retailers who sell rigid, which is simply flat pack that they've bought and they've screwed it together in the back of their operation. So it is actually flat pack that you're buying that's been put together. There is a subtle difference there.
And how would I be able to tell the difference?
Ask them. Ask the retailer when you're buying it, is this rigid furniture assembled by the manufacturer?
Right, and we have to trust in their good nature and honesty to tell us.
I'm sure they're all very honest.
Okay, Chris, I've decided, I'm going to go for the flat pack option. Now, would I be wise to fit this kitchen myself?
Depending on the skills that you have. I mean, few DIY have all the necessary skills. You've got plumbing, electrics, carpentry, and of course it's all specialist tools to go with that. And of course you've got to bear in mind that a professional man fitting a kitchen, say a 12 by 12 room, a fully fitted kitchen, it's probably going to take 5 days. You're not doing it all the time, so the time you've got a few specialist tools and you run around the town getting a few bits and pieces that you're not quite sure where to get, you're probably going to take 2 or 3 times longer, without a doubt. I mean, could you accept that the house will be in upheaval for that length of time? It certainly saves money, but to get the proper job, I think it's a professional's job.
Right, and I would imagine as well that by the end of my time of doing it, I'm going to have a bit of a shoddy job. It will probably have cost me just as much money in buying these specialist tools and running around and petrol and stress factor anyway.
It could well do. If you're not doing it all the time, when you've finished it, you could say, well, if I did it again, I'd do it such and such a way. So, yes, it's a
specialist job that maybe is best left to the professionals.
That's certainly my view. Although, if you are a particularly enthusiastic DIY person, that could be an option.
Okay.
But as a general rule, it's best left to the professionals.
Fair enough. Okay, now, should I pay a deposit for my kitchen?
Most companies will want a deposit. My advice here is do make sure that they're insured. If anything happened to the company and you've paid your deposit, the chances are you'll get nothing back. And big companies can go wrong as well as small companies. Do make sure they're insured and ask to see their policy.
Okay, fair enough. Sound advice. Now, what sort of guarantee, once it's fitted and in there, what sort of guarantee should I expect?
Guarantees come in all sorts of guises, from a year, five years, some to unlimited guarantees. awful lot of small print in guarantees, as we've all seen with motor cars and that sort of thing. Ask the sort of questions, you know, if say 2 years down the road where the fitter hasn't sealed the worktop properly and the worktop's blown, it's going to cost £1,000, would the guarantee cover that? Ask them those sort of questions. You know, read the small print. Some guarantees sound wonderful and are worthless. Some really are guarantees, where a company puts its name and its reputation by what it does.
Right, okay. So Chris, you've given us the basically the lowdown on choosing the kitchen, purchasing the kitchen, getting it fitted. What would be your advice to Andover viewers in conclusion?
My advice basically is put the time and effort into buying the kitchen. It's an expensive purchase. If you make savings in the wrong places, like having the wrong fitter, or perhaps not enough thought in the design, you can spoil it all for just a bit of effort or a little bit of extra money. Fitting a new kitchen complete is going to be an expensive operation, unless you're just going to put a couple of units in. And at the time you put your cabinets in, you've tiled it, you probably want a new floor, you've got some electrics, some new appliances, some new plumbing. Add it all together, it's a very expensive operation sometimes. It does warrant putting the effort in to getting what you want and getting the best value. You can deal with the companies who are members of trade associations. There's a Kitchen Specialist Association, which looks after customers. If you have any problems, you can refer to them. Very useful thing, but basically put the effort in, and I think it's very important to talk around, talk to your friends, go and look at kitchens. You know, somebody, a salesman might tell you they're wonderful. Go and look at a couple of his jobs. Go and actually look at them. That's the essence of what you're buying. Find a genuine company with a genuine product and a genuine guarantee.
Sounds like sound advice. Chris, thanks very much for coming to see us and speak to us today, and to the Andover viewers. Viewers, if you have any questions for Chris and anything that's come up that you might like to discuss further, get in touch with us here at the Chantry Centre studio, Andover 33556, or pop in and we'll pass on your inquiries to Chris. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. We've done in the past record reviews and video reviews and that for you. We thought this week we'd send a chap out called Chris Field for us. He's gone out and done some research to find out how you, the Andover buying public, are actually spending your money and what videos and singles and albums you're buying. As per the general trend across the country at the moment, you're following that quite closely. You're buying Mariah Carey with her new single, and Enigma with their new single, which actually features in Sleepless in Seattle. Now, following on from there, when it comes to videos and films, the one that's selling mostly at the moment is Bambi. Now that's selling and being heavily advertised right away across the country. It's being sold for a limited period of time by Disney, so if you can go out and get it, go out and do so, because it's a wonderful film for your kids to actually take and look after when they get older. Having covered the commercial side of the entertainment industry on this end, we now move over to the independent side with Earwax. Now they have done quite brisk trade in the past and promoted bands like Suede and also Therapy. Therapy have appeared this week, thankfully, in the charts at 22 with Trigger Inside, which is a brilliant single which I actually bought last week. It's well worth a listen to. But having, like I say, introducing Suede and bands like that, it makes you wonder whether they are going to be the people for tomorrow. Now we also look at the club scene. Flicks now has been open for 5 years. That seems a long time for a club to be open. Whether it follows the national trends as regards to dance or not, we're not quite sure. But in the past they've covered live entertainments with visits like Steve Wright and his posse, and other acts like Rosala. Now Rosala supported Michael Jackson on the last tour and went down quite well from all accounts. So we wish them all the best for the future, and hopefully that they'll bring on some more live shows, but they said they're not quite sure yet whether they will do. Well, moving on from the recorded music, we now go on to live music with places like the Angel, which covers live bands every Saturday night, and it's well worth a visit if you're at a loss and you fancy going and seeing a live band. The Wellington Arms also produce live bands, and they also have live bands on, with Blue Sunset playing there on the 31st of March. Also playing up there are No Big Deal, and they'll be playing there on the 15th of April, 16th of April, sorry, and they'll be well worth having a look at. On a more laid-back note, the jazz season is upon us again with Phipps House at Enham Alamein. Now they're going to be featuring on the 25th of March John Baines, who is reputed to be one of the finest saxophonists in the country and winner of numerous jazz awards. Now he's going to be featured out there, like we say, on the 25th of March. On the same day, which is something we're going to be covering at Cricklade Theatre, we're going to be showing you some of This Joint Is Jumping, which was a Fats Waller written production featuring his music. We will go down and, like I say, cover that for you. One of the other places to actually be on this weekend, which would be the 12th, is to go to the Folly and see Still Crazy playing up there. Apparently the Folly's closing down now. It's going to be turned into another restaurant by another chain. So we'd like to say thanks to the Folly for all their support that they've given us over the past. And also the Raiders are playing at the Southampton Arms on Sunday night. Well worth a checking out. Go and have a look at those. But like we say, it's only a guideline as to what's on and where. Do go out and have a look and find out what is being seen. Keep your eyes open on local press, because there is a lot going on in the town, and it is only a small town really. But do go out and have a look, and go and check out some of these places, and we'll see you again next week.
Well, that was one night with you by the Rockin Bandits, and it was really good. But as we promised you, and as Kenny Everett might have said, there's some naughty bits coming up now. as we said, the dancers after dark are performing up here at Breakers, and we're going to go and see what's happening. So follow me up the stairs. This way, in fact. I can hear some music. What can I? It's about 11:45 now on a Saturday night, and we're just going upstairs to see what's happening. Oh, if Steve the Cameraman doesn't fall over. It's very quiet in there, but I think it's all just about to start. Oh dear. Well, we can't bring any more than that. This is a family show, so what we're going to do is go straight back to the studio and join up again with the Rockin' Bandits. So we're going to sign off for the night. Bye.
So I walk 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more. I put the 12 feet ready to drag and I'm 15 to blow and I'm ready to sag. I'm getting the top, baby, I'm too tired to rock. When she called me up on the telephone, she said, come on over, honey, I'm all alone. I said, baby, you're not sweet, but I'm a baby with an ache and feed. This went on for a couple of days, but I couldn't stay away, so I walked